Well, the classical magical show Annie is on stage at Seattle's Fifth Avenue Theater. It is the perfect holiday show for the entire family. And this morning, I am here with the amazing Timothy McEwen-Piguet, who plays Daddy Warbucks. Thank you so much for getting up early and coming in this morning.
Good to be with you again.
Yes, well, full disclosure, you didn't know this question was coming. Timothy and I did a show at the Seattle Children's Theater in 1995. It was called The Magic Mrs. Pigglewiggle, and this is a photo of the two of us as two mothers complaining about our children.
Wow, look at that.
Do you remember this?
In that Anne Bancroft wig.
Hilarious. I can't believe I found that. You do drag very well.
Oh, wow.
In fact, last time you were here,
no, it should never happen again.
It was awesome. And the Seattle Children's Theater still does great work, by the way. They're doing the Velveteen Rabbit right now. So anyway, back to Annie. For the 2 or 3 people who don't know what Annie's about, tell us about Annie.
Well, it's about an 11-year-old orphan's quest to find her parents and how she impacts the lives of just about everyone that she encounters on the journey. Of course, it's much more complicated than that, right? But that's just sort of the kernel of what's at the center of the story.
And it has all those incredibly famous songs, like the best weather song ever.
The sun will come out
tomorrow. And it is a perfect production. I saw the show last week. It is awesome. I mean, everyone is good. The orphans, Miss Hannigan just kills it. Rooster, Grace, you, and the dogs. So I saw a local girl, and I cannot pronounce her name,
Vicia.
Vicia.
And you're on that. I will butcher her last name.
It's so complicated, but she is a wonder. Unbelievably good. So can you tell us about the girls playing Annie?
Right. We have Vicia and Faith Young, who alternate the role.
And they're both local.
They're both local. And they're such pros. I can't imagine being 11 years old and having to carry a production of this size because they rarely leave the stage.
That's right.
But they give it their all. They contribute just every ounce of their humanity each and every performance.
They're just wonderful. We just saw her shaking hands with President Roosevelt. And there you are.
There I am.
Look at that.
Shiny head and all.
And people love, of course, the dogs playing Sandy. What can you tell us about the dogs?
Maisie and Sandy were rescued.
Wait, one of them's actually named Sandy?
No, I'm sorry. Maisie and Sunny. I beg your pardon. Were rescued from shelters around the country.
Dogs.
Yes. And those dogs are pretty famous because they have been doing Annie for a number of years. They've probably done hundreds, if not thousands, of productions of Annie. So they're trained by the only Tony Award-winning animal trainer, William Berloni, who trained the original Annie in 1977 for that Broadway Annie. So he has parlayed that into an entire industry of training animals just for the stage.
Well, they were incredible, and every time they were on stage, of course, people went nuts, right?
Oh, they're magic.
Dogs and kids. I'm surprised you
I get it all, don't I?
Man, that is tough. Now, you've worked in every theater in Seattle and on Broadway, and you teach acting at Cornish. In fact, you said today you're going to go back to work and give the kids a test.
Yeah, it's time for a written final.
So how did you, as an actor, approach playing the richest man in the world?
You know, I hearken back to the 1930s because the play takes place in 1933, and Oliver Warbucks is a billionaire, which is pretty unusual at that time.
Yeah.
So he takes up a lot of space. I didn't necessarily research very rich people from this particular era, but the 1930s, big personas, people who would talk on a candlestick phone, use big booming voices because they wanted to project strength and magnetism.
But then he has this warmth because he wants to adopt little Annie.
Right, he's an orphan himself. That's the thing that they have in common is that yeah, he's an orphan too.
Oh my gosh. Well, the incredible production of Annie, try to see it, is playing at Seattle's Fifth Avenue Theater through December 30th. For tickets, go to fifthavenue.org. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Bill, over to you.